I'm Matt. This is the Kind Podcast, and today I'm here with
Portia Moore, CEO and founder of T.R.A.P, the Transitional Reentry Adult Program.
All right. So before we get into T.R.A.P and your work and the population you serve, all that, just a bit of a background about you. So where are you from, and how did you get to where you're at now?
Okay, I am raised by my grandparents, originally from Binghamton. As I got older, we moved to the Orange Mound area. East High alumni, graduated in 2001. Found myself just kind of dealing with the wrong type of people. Got myself in some trouble. I do have a background from earlier 2000s, so I myself am a person of reentry, yet I have overcome. Once I got over that 7-year hump of my background, I started reaching out to different staffing services, trying to get some employment opportunities. Heard a lot of no's, but just still wanted to make sure I got myself on track. So, I continued to push and strive and continue to apply. Ended up working in a warehouse setting around like a peak season time. Did that for maybe 5 years. And that last time I went to that employer, they offered me a supervisor or lead position. So kind of took that. That's when things were looking on the up and up for me. And that's really when I started my career path with the staffing and the HR, which grew. I ended up being a director of recruitment for a company based out of New York, a company called Milestone Education, where basically I recruited for 67 schools in 6 states. So like I said, I really feel like that was the building of Portia for working with the reentry population.
Mm-hmm. And I got a bunch of questions, but I want to start off with, you are like one of those people that I think is a trademark of someone who like lives what they do. You're the same in the meetings I see at reentry as you are when I'm sitting down with someone that we're referring over to your program, and you can just tell that like the passion you have, it is who you are. Is that something that's been innate in like your character? Is that something that you got from someone from your childhood? Like where does that passion come from?
I really think it's just in me. And I put a lot of that on like being raised by my grandmother. They're gonna show you those morals and values and how to care for people. And I've honestly been like that my whole life. I always tried to help people be in a better situation, just giving good advice and just trying to, walk along the way with people and help them to get in a better space and place in life. But yeah, I think it's been in me.
No, yeah, it just the passion in what you speak, you could just see it through a conversation. And so in particular, I guess we'll just go ahead and start with what T.R.A.P is, what you do, and kind of how'd you find T.R.A.P? I think that's a really interesting story.
Okay. Well, I have a lot of friends and family that are still in the streets or incarcerated. My daughter's father, he was in juvenile in and out when we were young, so he got locked up at 16, ended up with like a 21-year sentence. When he came home, he was out for maybe a year, and from off a habit, he picked up an incarceration. He overdosed. So it really hits home. Like I said, I got a lot of friends that are, gone that I, try to pour into and keep them encouraged so that they can get their lives together. But people have to understand that they have to take that initiative themselves also. But as far as T.R.A.P and how I got started, I was sitting at the foot of my bed. I saw my old employer on the news, and they were saying that they were having trouble with getting people in for employment and getting their accounts taken care of. And I was like, man, y'all had the winner. I made sure everything was good. But that just kind of sat with me, and I know I got a niche for people. Everybody loves me. People listen to me. So I was like, I'm going to start my own organization to where I help people to skill themselves up, and I can help them find employment. And that's what kind of opened the door for T.R.A.P. I sat there trying to think of a name, and I was like, T.R.A.P. And I got to find an acronym for it. And when I found that acronym, I was like, it was perfect. And the reason I say that is because people look at T.R.A.P as a negative word, trap house, dope house, whatever. Mm-hmm. I wanted to put a positive twist to it, and that's what I've done. So the people that could resonate with the word T.R.A.P and coming up in poverty and, in these rough communities, I wanted to show them that you are resilient. Let's take those pains and troubles that we've had and let's redirect them. So just helping them identify their strengths, their weakness, and what they need to do to invest in themselves to move forward. So I had actually lost that job. It was a $90,000 job a year when I was working for Milestone Education. I lost it a month after I started T.R.A.P. And you guys, honestly, like, anybody else would have went crazy. You know, I just really felt like, well, I know God is with me along this journey because I'm helping his people. I know that for a fact. And I didn't even look for a job. You know, I had money saved. I had some nice credit cards. I was like, I'll survive off this till everything pop off. You know, you hear people saying nonprofit this, nonprofit that, you get a grant. It's not that simple. I did not know that coming in, but I didn't let that discourage me. So basically, I was unemployed for 2 years, running T.R.A.P. with no money coming in, but I could see how things were moving, how I knew it could grow. And like I said, I just stayed determined, you know, stayed prayed up. You know, if you're doing the right thing, you helping God's people, he gonna help you. And that's what we have to realize and just know we can't worry. I had a lot of ups and downs. I had a couple of times where I wanted to give up. But I just looked at it as so many people depended on me. I've helped so many people where they thought there was no help at all. So that's what fueled me to continue moving forward with what I was doing. So basically what we do is they sign up on the website. We have an enrollment orientation. That's where they come in. I tell them the ins and outs of T.R.A.P., what's expected, and I just let them know, I'm not chasing you down. If mom, grandma sent you up here, I need you to be here for yourself, not because someone sent you, because you're not gonna do what you're supposed to do if somebody else got you here, you know? Yeah. So we have those enrollment orientations. That's where we discuss the job readiness, self-esteem building, very important. Some people are at a low point to where, you know, I've been in jail all my life, I ain't gonna do nothing, that's all they're hearing. You gotta lift them up to let them know and be confident you can do this, but you gotta take out time to build yourself up to do this. We have leadership classes. I just wrapped up a culinary workshop. I just try to give any involvement for them to kind of groom themselves, to find what they like to do, to know what they need to do to move forward. They were able to obtain their ServSafe certification from that, so that's a level up. You know, we help them get directed for forklift certification and OSHA, things like that. But I really think more so with me being relatable, that really helps the process with what I have going on. Most people in reentry, when you sign up for these reentry programs, you're just a number. They just there to get their check. Not me at all. You know, I'm here to pour into you as much as I can, and for you to see, you need to pour into yourself. And then we got amazing outcomes and success stories. So I know that it just takes a little love and compassion and directive for them. You know, they incarcerated people, hollering, cussing at them, fussing at them all the time. You got to deal with all these different attitudes around you. Everybody disgruntled, you know. So I just believe when you come home, somebody got to show you a little peace and positivity. I've been offered jobs with, because I am a volunteer at Dearson Charities Federal Halfway House. I've been working with them since 2018. That was before I started T.R.A.P., but still had that relationship. So when I got my 501c3, I was able to go in and start programming there with them. And the outcomes, they are amazing. And, you know, the residents speak so highly of me. The president of the region from the Board of Prisons, when she's there, when I'm there, Portia, when you coming to work for us? I was like, no, ma'am, I don't want to work for y'all. I said, I got to do things my way. And I say that because sometimes they need a hug. They can't hug them. I can. And, you know, it means so much to them because ain't nobody been hugging them and telling them they proud of them, you know, stay encouraged, keep doing a good job. They don't get that. So with them receiving that from someone that has been through the struggle, you know, it just makes them open their eyes to how things can really change for them. And, you know, my motto is reducing recidivism requires relatability. You know, no one in a suit and tie can tell you something about your life and what you need to do if they haven't experienced it. So I feel like I may not have been through your situation, but I've been through a situation and I know how to overcome it. So here are the steps. You gonna follow them?
Yeah, and you know, one of the things that I think it blows me away, because I mean I do similar work in the sense of like understanding the population, but what I don't get how you do is the balance between, because I know what it takes to operate a 501c3 and the volume that you have coming through right now, which is very high, and the amount of work it takes per individual. Like, how do you balance that, like this is the time I need to be spending towards this. This is the time I'm spending towards relationships with people coming through. And then also, you're a human being. This is the time that I can like sit down and watch a show that I like or relax. Like, how do you balance all these different things going on?
I will honestly say it can't be nothing but God. Because sometimes I'm multitasking and doing so many things. I'm like, dang, how am I doing all this? But it's like, he's in the midst. I feel like as long as I keep him first and keep him in the midst, he's going to prepare me. He's going to make sure I have what I need. You know, at one point I was praying, you know, I need some grant money. I need some funding so I can expand my staff and do what I need to do. And my sister told me, you're praying for the wrong thing. So I started praying for God to continue putting people in my life that could assist me with what I'm doing. And he's been doing just that. Everything else is going to come. So it's really us having that understanding. And you just got to know who you got to depend on. But I have a good work-life balance. People tell me all the time I need to cut off from work, but my phone line's always open. Me putting my phone on D&D or not answering could make or break somebody. And I have that understanding. I know that I need to carve out time for myself. I know that I have to shut down from work sometimes, but I'm all in right now. My main goal is I want to see everybody do well.
Yeah.
So I know the calls that I get, they're meaningful. They mean something. They're changing some things. I've stopped crimes from being committed. Someone called me and say they're on the verge of doing something, and I talk them down. So it's like we have to be accessible. And that's what people keep saying, Portia, you too accessible. I gotta be.
Yeah.
I gotta be because they need me. And that's another reason why, like, I just feel like I gotta stay on point at all times. I don't like negative energy around me. I have to always be positive, in a good mood, because one of my folks might call me. I can't be in a bad mood because somebody else has put their weight on me, and I cannot do that. And a lot of people see that about me now, like, I'll get like a little stand backish if you're not what I'm on. I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah, you don't have time.
I don't have time for that, and I just feel like I need to be at my best at all times for my participants.
Yeah, and I think too, like I think people equate that idea of you have to give time to yourself more towards like a typical industry or job. I think with positions like with what you're doing, you have such a vested interest in the success of the people you're serving because you deeply care about them, and that comes from the relationships that you allow to happen as they come through your system. And I don't think people understand, and we were talking about this before the podcast, like there's a lot of places that, you know, it's kind of like I could do this specific thing for you, you come through here, you get the certificate, it's a great thing, but with the services you provide, you're looking at them as like an individual, and it's all subsequent to what that person needs. And I think that's what's overlooked a lot of the times, is like, I might have 25 people on my caseload, 15 of which are doing tremendous. They're doing their job. You know, they'll call me every now and then with an update. But then there's, 3 that are in really tough spots, and I have to be able to be accessible to those 3 because I told them when they joined, I'm here for you. And if, as soon as your word stops meaning something in that way, you start losing people's trust. And in this industry, trust is everything, because you're asking someone to really be vulnerable and to take that vulnerability and throw it away, or to not actually be what you're talking about. It could be really tough, and it echoes throughout the rest of your time doing the work, because people are going to be known as, oh, she told me this, but it didn't really work out that way. And so when you're going through, even when you talk about it, it's still, because I know the work, and it's just like, yeah, I don't get how you do it, but it's clearly a passion, it's clearly a God-gifted talent that you're able to balance all of it. But like, what are the first things that you look to establish in a relationship when someone comes to your program? Like, what's the first thing, like, this needs to be rock solid first?
I have a one-on-one assessment with them. That's when I get to know them, they get to know me. And it is just strictly being transparent. Tell me what your barriers and your stigmas are. What do you want to do? Give me a little background, not too much. Now, when I say background, I don't mean as far as their charge, because I tell all my people, you've explained that enough to everybody. You don't owe me anything. I just need to know what type of charge it is, how old it is, and I can be putting together in my head what platform or what plan I need to put you on to where you will find the perfect job. Or I know what jobs I can send you to once we get that job readiness and leadership and all that stuff done. That's just giving me an idea of knowing how I need to move. Because I'm not going to send you somewhere that's going to tell you, no, your background messed up. Everywhere that I send my people to is somewhere that you can be hired. I just need you to go in, come through this job readiness so you can present yourself when it comes to that interview portion, seal the deal. but telling me kind of their background of like family history. But like I said, I take out that time to get to know each individual. Like you can call somebody and I'm like, oh yeah, that's one of my participants. Because I put hands on all of them.
Yeah, you have to too, because that's where the relationship's built. And I think, and I love to just talk about the population in general, but like the population that you serve, individuals like reentering post-incarceration we talked about it. I don't know of one that has more blockades in their way than that population. I mean, everywhere they turn, it feels like, oh, you have this? Great, sorry, this isn't for you then. And I'd love to know how you combat that and how you can have the ability to go to them and say, no, I know this is a pathway for you. I just need to know that you want to do it. So when you're starting at that square one, I guess, and as you were building out T.R.A.P, I guess, to begin with, like, what was your first, you're like, I know that I need to have gateways for this, and this. Like, where did you start?
Like I said, I've been in staff and in HR for about 16 years now. I've built relationships across the board. So it's like, I tell them I'm still the plug. I'm connected with everyone, in a positive way. So I know people with housing. I know people with drug facility treatments. If you need inpatient or outpatient, like I know everybody. So as long as I built these relationships and they're solid and they know what I'm doing with T.R.A.P, when I'm referring people out, they're open arms. They're going to help me to get them in a better position. Where they need to be.
And then with the population as a whole, there's countless stigmas that people have about reentry and like what people are doing. And what do you think is I don't know if annoying is a good word. Like, what's the one that you hear or know about that people like have an automatic assumption that just bothers you because it's just so not true?
Just with them not allowing them opportunities. Because if you never open a door for them, they're going to keep doing what they're doing. When you have people that come home after a 5 to 10 year sentence or whatever, and they got their plan and they made them, I'm doing right when I come home. When you come home and you start applying, I done applied to 10 jobs. Everybody telling me, that's discouraging. Like, that will make you say, okay, I might as well go back on the block and, do what I've been doing. So, I just try to tell them, like, you gonna hear some no's, but I take out the time to research and identify employers that take certain backgrounds. So one may do a 7-year background. So if their charges are older than 7 years, I know I can send them out there. If they have a more recent background, I have to identify employers that are willing to give them that chance. And I really feel like the employers need to do better because there are so many perks to them hiring second chance individuals. They got the WOTC, that's a tax credit that they'll get off of each person, and I think that ranges from like $3,000 to $5,000. They got federal bonding, where you can sign off on one little form, and as soon as they're hired, the day they're hired, you're covered up to $25,000 for damage or theft. So it's a win-win situation. Yeah. So I'm trying to understand why the employers don't want to just give them a chance. Like I wish I had money to get a warehouse and just employ them, or something where it's just easy access where you don't have to worry about it, because that's very discouraging. To constantly hear no and you trying your best to do the right thing, but people don't consider when they come home, you got people in your ear saying, I can give you this, you can get back out here, you can get your money, you ain't gotta be broke, da 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 da. But that same person, you can't call on them for a ride to an interview or a ride to work. So I try to help them to identify who for you and who not for you. Mm-hmm. And it's not easy it's not hard to identify. You're gonna know, like, what are they willing to spend time with you for? What are they willing to do for you? Is it gonna be something that help you or hurt you? Because if you take this sack they're giving you and you just got out, you finna go back to jail. And they're not studying you when you're in there. Nobody's putting money on your books. You might have your mom still supporting you, but a lot of people's family have passed away and they're indigent when they're in there. So that's another thing. You start doing things in there that you're not supposed to do to survive. So I just tell them, you gotta buckle down. You got to make a plan, and you got to stick to it.
Is that a common thing that, because now that you said that, like, I'm just thinking about people that have come through our programming that, like, I know had backgrounds, and I had, like, a similar type of conversation, which was, like, you got to really believe in yourself and put in the work for you. Mm-hmm. Is it a common characteristic for people to have that, like, stage where they're realizing, oh, wait, the people that I thought were there for me are not?
Most definitely.
That's got to be
most definitely.
Tough. I'm just thinking, yeah.
One thing, when you come home, probably ain't nobody been helping you out while you in there as far as putting money on your books and visiting. So there's an aggression there.
Yeah.
You know, so when you come home and these people that you expected to send you money, come see you, now they all in your face and this, well, I can do this. No, I needed you then.
Yeah.
You know, people don't understand, like, being incarcerated really affects your mental, and everybody's not strong. So if you don't have a strong mind, it can break you.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people this, and like I was really vulnerable with a few help hall guests back in the day that were just doing some stupid things, and I caught them, and I shared them like one of my biggest fears in life, growing up and to this day, is incarceration, and not because it's like you're going into like scary people, whatever. It's more like the finite decision of what your life becomes from that moment that you enter, and then the lack of accessibility you have thereafter. And that to me has always been terrifying. And I think we talked about it before the podcast, is like you run into people and their perspective on incarceration and police and all these things. It's almost like a presumed assumption that they're going to interact with it at some point, so it's not that big of a deal. And then when they go there, like the individual we talked about, he had told me, like, I realized after they shut that door, like, oh shit, like this is where I'm at for the next 2 years. And it's like a real
reality check.
Man, if that
too
can't
late,
be,
a too late reality.
That's what I'm saying, and that's where it's like, it sucks that there's not something we could do to get that point across at an earlier stage, because I can't imagine that the sobering feeling of like, oh wait, like this is what everyone was talking about and now it's happening to me.
We gotta just stay hands on with them. Like, it's a non-stop job. Like, I have a participant that I'm working with now, and it's like 1 second I feel like, oh, I'm doing way too much, but the next second he ain't got nobody else.
Yep.
And I'm seeing a good outcome, like things are working. He told me when his parents picked him up from the job the other day, they got to speak with the owner, and they said they like him, they gonna help him out, they gonna work with him. So that kind of encouraged him, and then it helped his parents to see, because this individual is 47 years old, and you got your parents trying to help you get back and forth to work because they cutting my slack because I can't help, because I'm busy. But for the parents to hear that and see that kind of took them to another level, because he had told me, they really appreciate you, and they got to understand, and they're going to do whatever I need them to do for me. And sometimes, they just need to hear that and see that. Because when I took him home, I met his dad, and people running nonprofit, they're not taking nobody home, and that was on my own personal time. That was 8 o'clock at night. Yeah. So I didn't mind doing it because I see that he's striving, he's trying.
And it works.
And it's working. So, I got someone to donate money to pay for transportation for the week. I've partnered with Alpha Transportation, and they got some pretty reasonable rates, way cheaper than Uber. So, I made a couple of calls, told people I had someone in the program that was trying their best, and, can you help us out? We got a week of transportation for him, and by that time he'll have a paycheck to pick it up from the next week.
And I think the piece you just said about the parents is something that's so overlooked in this type of work, because like I've told people when they're like, what do you do? Because I mean like, just so many people are just interested in like the type of work, and I'm like, to be honest with you, like my best days are when I can advocate for someone to people that they already have in their life, because so often, especially again with the youth, when I was working with youth, there's like a certain declaration or timeline where they've given up on that person. And to see the spark of that relationship come back, a lot of times that's been the turning point for people. Because it's like, oh shit, like my mom just told me she loved me, or my mom told me that I could come stay with her because I'm working this program. And like, that's where you get the real wins. Like the win for me isn't, oh, come through the program, we're going to put your name on this check mark. I would rather you never even touch these doors, and I would rather you go be with your family, because you're 19 years old. You're lost beyond all measure, and sure I could help out in the sense of like, where's this resource, what's this person, but I can't help get back your character and that love you had in the family. And to see parents be like, oh, you've shown me that you're for real this time, I at least can believe because you got this dude calling my phone like a maniac trying to get in touch with me because he knows that you're doing better.
Yes.
And that to me, I love that you said that, because I think it's so overlooked. But those little details,
it matters. Because after his dad walked off from my car, he went over there and hugged his son, and that just did something to me. Like, good job, keep it up. Gotta keep everybody encouraged. Like, I want to meet the family. I need the family to know, I need y'all to support them as much as you can. As much as you can. I know they're grown. I know they went through this, and this in life, but you need your family. You gotta have some kind of support, or it's gonna be so hard. But we have to realize that everybody's raised differently, and those relationships aren't there initially, or maybe have diminished over time. So we gotta focus on building those relationships. Like I told him, Mom just wants you at home. She don't want you going to stay with all these different women. She wants you at home so you can stop having to reset when things go wrong with them. Now you got to come back home to Mom. But if you just sit here with your mom and be patient, I know nobody wants to stay with their parents at the age of 40. Mm-hmm. I know that, but it's nothing permanent. It's temporary. You take that time to stack your money, just stay out the way, getting closer relationships with your family, your kids, and then when time comes, you can get your own space. They can come visit you, you know?
And the communication piece that opens up with that too. Like I think a lot of times when it comes to familial ties breaking, it usually stems from either like a circumstance where someone felt wronged or a situation occurred.
And never resolved it.
And then when you come back, a lot of like the folks I was serving didn't have the language to convey the message of like, I know I screwed up, but I'm really working on it this time, because they already knew the anger that they were going to be met with. And that anger is justified. If someone did something and the family feels like they were wronged, that's okay. What the person has to realize is communicate that you understand that. Yeah. But there's a lot of pride, and then that pride's mixed with shame, which is the worst combination to have.
Yes.
To be prideful about something that you are also ashamed of. Because you're too prideful to admit you were in the wrong, but you're also too ashamed to even reach out for the connection to begin with. It. And then building that back, that's where I see the most success, is where it's like, not only do you know that I care, but I've also connected you back to the people that should have always been there to begin with and were there to begin with. And I think just the change you see in people, and like, there's nothing better than a parental figure telling you like, come home. And I mean, it's just, it feels good. And I know, like you said, most people, if you're 35, 40, you won't be living at home, but like, that time also means something. Like that time where you're having dinner with your folks again, and you're asking your mom how her day was, and she gets to be a part of your life where she hasn't been able to in the past, 20 years. That's time that she wants back too. And so there shouldn't be shame attached to it. It should, honestly, it's really a beautiful thing. And like, I would look at that time as like the most beneficial time for that person's life, because there's not many people that can have that strong connection that later in life. So that communication piece just, it really resonated. And I think that echoes into all the work that you do. And so when you are assessing an individual when they enter into your program, I guess for you, because you mentioned like how it felt for the father to hug the son, what are those the wins that you're looking for? Is that what keeps you going, seeing those?
Yes. Just being reconnected with your family, finding yourself, building that self-confidence in yourself to where you don't feel like you deserve an $8 job. You deserve a high-paying job too, but at the same time, if you need to invest in yourself to skill yourself up, you got to be able to take the initiative to do that also. And I just try to explain to them, like, nothing is going to be given to you. A lot of people just expect things to be put in their lap. It doesn't go like that. You got to do your part. And even when you do your part, you still going to have some speed bumps. But we have to understand that the struggle is necessary. Like, I can say that myself from my experience over this 2.5 years of going into entrepreneurship, being used to having a steady income, and now, you on pins and needles and things like that. But you just got to stay focused. You have to stay focused, and you have to know what the goal is. The goal is for you to be successful. The goal is for you to be on top, and you got to struggle a little bit. I really feel like that builds us. It helps to groom us to who we need to be. And it's just the preparation. Sometimes if we get stuff too soon, it doesn't go right, but you got to go through a little struggle so we know you can handle that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I benefited, part of my educational background in psychology, and I grew up with a dad with a doctorate in philosophy, so I was always hearing weird stuff growing up. But one of the things that I always was intrigued by is, like, there's a school of thought in psychology, which is, like, suffering is the pinpoint of the human existence, which is essentially, like, to suffer is to live. And I think the hardest part to explaining that to someone is, like, especially in the middle of it, is, like, it's like we talked about earlier, like, you can't just give someone a component, you have to give them the whole plan. And so, like, the suffering of having those awkward conversations with family members, or putting yourself out there for an interview that may not turn out well, or just the consistent rejection that this population feels, like, though in the moment it feels like it's just there's no reason for it, when you finally do get that level of success, you have a comparative perspective to be like, look at all the work that I've done and now I'm here. But you also have a certain level of strength that's attached to it too, because you know what it took to get to that point.
Yep.
And like I always told people, like, it's a classic saying, but like, diamonds are literally just rock under immense pressure. And so, yeah, in order to have something beautiful, you have to have something terrible. I mean, that echoes through art ever since like humanity really happened. I mean, everything that's beautiful once started as something that was terrible. And so when you're seeing these little wins and you're building and building and building, like, what is a trademark for you, or like, what is your North Star that allows you to recognize when that person's at that point where it's like, okay, I feel like they can kind of take over a bit more now? Like, when's that progression start?
I hear it in their conversation.
Really?
I hear it in their conversation, knowing how they were speaking when we first initially met a long time. You can see the maturity. You can see and hear the maturity in them. They'll start just moving and acting different, and oh, I ain't trying to do that. I got to go to work. So I'm like, oh, okay, you done got it. Look, you done got it. I don't want to go out this weekend. I got to go to work. So just their conversation and their actions, you are going to be able to see a difference in them, for sure.
Yeah. And I'd love to talk about your model a little bit, because like we were talking about before, I think the model you have is beautiful because it places a lot of responsibility on the individual. It's like, you're not coming here to get handed out all these things like you mentioned. Like, I'm going to give you a pathway, but it's going to require that you do a majority of the work, and I'm more here to support. And so, like, when you're, again, making T.R.A.P, like, where does that come from? Was that just something you knew innately, or like, how did that?
Just for me being a person in the community, I know a lot of people are lacking skill set and knowledge for, employment and different opportunities. So I just wanted to kind of pinpoint those things. Like, I remember my post I used to put on Facebook, lack of skills, lack of knowledge, people just don't know which way to go. So like I said, when I do those assessments, just taking out that time to kind of hear them out, let them tell me what they want to do, and then I'm going to tell you the steps you got to take to get it. And something that I make my business is also when I do my group orientation enrollments, I make sure that everybody that touches my office, I make sure they leave with something that they didn't have when they came. So from that point, that's when you're going to take the initiative to move forward yourself. So when they come in, we discuss the job readiness, we discuss healthcare, we discuss housing, we discuss employment. I'm going to give them a few jobs they can apply for up front. I'm going to give them just a little knowledge on each one of those categories, but they have to take the initiative to keep calling or Ms. Portia, I applied to those jobs. Can you see if you can get my application pulled? If you can't call to say, get my application pulled, and I've given you a couple of spots, you're not ready. So that is how I identify who's really trying to do better. When those classes start, Ms. Portia, I get those kind of calls. Those are the people that I know they ready. The other ones, they'll just call their blue. I got to go to court. I'm not going to court with you and you ain't participated or been active in anything. I let them know that I don't play those kind of games. I take this very seriously. Now, if you're coming into classes, you're coming to community events, yeah, I go to court with you. But I don't know what you've been doing. And I build relationships to where I can go in these courtrooms, and you're not going to send me in there and you're not on point, but you want me to vouch for you. We're not doing that. But if I can sit here and speak on your behalf and say that you've done this, and took the initiative, and I see a child, I'll do that. But again, I put the ball in their hand. Show me that you want this, and I'm going to meet you halfway.
And there's such a high level, and I love that you mentioned that, there's such a high level of love and denial when it comes to that, because you have to let them know, I'm not doing this to look at you as a number. I want you to succeed, but you're not doing what you need to do to be successful. And I'm not going to lie for you. And I think people on both ends of the spectrum, the employers, the court system, and the other participants can understand, oh, she's for real.
Oh, yeah. I had a guy call me the other day, Ms. Portia, I got court Monday. I was like, and this was like maybe Thursday. I said, I'm not going to court with you. I said, why you didn't tell me in advance? You want to call me when things are looking real bad for you, but you haven't taken out the time to invest. Yeah, you were doing well months ago, but I ain't talked to you. I don't know what's going on, and I can't put myself in a situation to go in there and speak on your behalf, and you're not holding your end of the bargain up, because I got thousands of people behind me that want to enroll in the program or already in the program, and Now, Miss Portia hold high standards for me, so I gotta hold them for everybody.
Yeah.
So I don't mind going to court with them, but it gotta be worth it.
And real.
You
Like,
gotta have something to show for it. Got to.
Yeah, yeah, and I think at least on my end, like I think that is something I had to learn as far as like, because whenever I started doing the work, you always think like I just want to make the person feel good, and in a sense, like obviously there's stuff that like you have to be like pretty finite on, like vouchers and stuff like that. But like I always wanted to always be like the person that could give them good news, until I realized that. Fabricated good news or good news that isn't attached to something real is really just like putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone.
Yep.
And you're actually setting them up to be like to fail, because now they're getting a positive interaction from a negative consequence that they should never been a part of to begin with. And yeah, I think it takes like a lot of strength. Did you know on the front end, like if I'm going to do this, I gotta make sure that these standards are set and that I'm following them myself?
Most definitely. Like I said, I tell everybody, it's not an instant fix to say you want to go from the streets to getting your life together. It is a process, but you have to be determined to know which one you want to let outweigh the other. You want the good to outweigh the bad. So it's like, you just got to know that you know. Like, I'm done. I've been done with the streets. I wouldn't go back for nothing in the world. And I try to explain that to them, like, it's too many additional consequences that could come with it now. You might as well just get you a job. You don't got to look over your shoulder. You ain't got to hunt nobody down for your money. Like, it's less stressful. Clock in 9 to 5, do what you're supposed to do. You got a check coming on Friday. Like, I think people just need like a breakdown of how smooth things can flow versus what you have to battle and deal with when you are in the streets and you doing all this crooked stuff.
Yeah.
And, just going in those courtrooms, that really kind of opened my eyes to a lot of things. I got more power than what I know. And I figured that out when I had a young man, was doing excellent. I had went to speak for him in court a couple times. He had kind of fell off, got in a little trouble. He called me. He was like, I'm not in Memphis anymore. I'm on the run. But telling me the situation. And try to get me back in court, I want to turn myself in. So, I emailed the judge, I emailed the prosecutor, told him the situation. We got a court date. He came down here for the court date. They had him cuffed to the chair. He thought, everything, the process, like he caught a bus. He knew he was going to go to jail. And, after I spoke and after they went over everything, because he was doing well where he was staying. He had a job. He had somewhere to stay. He was pouring into the youth. And they uncuffed him and said, we turning you over to the hands of T.R.A.P. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with him. But ended up getting him to a secure spot. We were trying to transfer his probation to Nevada, and I was able to do that. I had no clue I could do that, but the majority of it was him doing his part. I told him, if you got all this stuff situated up there, you need to bring documentation. They don't want to hear nothing word of mouth. They want to see it on paper. So just being able to tell them, like, documentation is everything. A lot of them don't know that. They weren't raised like that. So if he would have came down here and didn't have anything together, probably wouldn't have went like that. But with him showing the initiative that he took out the time to get these documents in order, it was a good look for him. And he's doing good now. So it's all kind of ways to look at it, but it all boils down to, are they willing to do it themselves? How bad do they want it? I can't want it more than you.
Nope.
This your life. What you gonna do? I'm here. So I think once we break that down and get that through to them, it's kind of more of an easier process.
Right.
Got a question. It seems to me, we're in Memphis, we got these things going on nationwide, whatnot. But this, it seems like the courts and maybe police and the whole system, they may not even know what to do. So they say, you have much power, you turn you over to T.R.A.P. I know, like, sometimes we have folks at the hub, they come, police get them, they don't know what to do, they just want to bring them to the hub, because they just, like, please take this person, we don't want to throw them in jail. We don't know how to reentry these individuals. Like, I'm speaking in terms of, like, the system, whatnot, of incarceration, and, you have a person and they've been taken out of the system, they haven't been working, they haven't been gathering Social Security, they haven't been working on, they haven't been participating, they come out in, you know, this fragile system of reentry, in reentering society. And, you know, we're in Memphis, you know, the family structure may not have been great, going in, coming out, and, you know, places to stay and kind of settle. Because we have so many individuals that are men that are homeless that have criminal
Just come home.
records. And it's like solving that, getting them into a place where they can collect their minds, to where they can start the whole reentry process and get a job. Just, you know, staying with people that may not want you even over there. It's like a battleground of kind of, it's just real fragile, it just seems like.
I feel like if they did more so of a pre-release thing,
I was about to say.
that will solve everything. If you prepare them, if they know they got 6 months to a year, you need to try and go on and get your GED. You need to be trying to get any forklift, any certification you can get while you're there. They have tablets in there now. Okay, skill me up so that I won't return when I get out, you know? So that pre-release, I think a lot of coaching needs to go into that as far as like job readiness, their self-esteem. Those are important key factors. Like, because if you feel like you ain't got nothing going, I had a guy, did 13 years, he was my neighbor. Did 13 years, couldn't find a job. I ended up getting him on at FedEx. He worked that job for 2 years, y'all, rode a bike. You could ask him, let me take you to work, rain, sleet, stuff. No. And one day he came over and he was talking to me. He was like, I need to ride the bike to work. I don't deserve nothing extra. I don't deserve that. I've done this in my life. I said, it don't matter what you've done in your life. God bless everybody. So with you taking the steps that you need to do the right thing, you receive blessings. If somebody offer you a ride, take the ride. But it came from, well, I don't want to hear nobody saying nothing about it after that they helped me and this and this. But that man literally rode a bike, rain, sleet, or snow, to FedEx and kept that job for 2 years. So it's like, if we can better equip them before they come home, I think they'll have a good turnout. Like, don't let them sit in themselves and don't do nothing. Make they butts get up and do something.
And it's the exact reason why you're talking like it's so discombobulated when you're exiting, because like I've talked to people where it's like I don't even know where to start.
Yeah.
I've literally been incarcerated for over 5 years, and then now you're telling me I'm exiting, and the first thing I exit out to is like we talked about. I got the clothes I came in here with, whatever money I had in my pocket. I have no connection. I have no bandwidth understanding of where my journey begins. But all I do know is that if I don't figure it out within the next month, I could be reincarcerated for breaking parole. Who the hell thinks that's a good idea? And how does that make any sense? And especially if we're going to say the whole point of incarceration is that when you're reentering into society, you should have learned a lesson and blah, blah, blah. None of that matters if we're not putting any work in on the front end.
Thank you.
Like, how the hell do you expect someone that has been literally sitting in a cell for the past decade to know the landscape of the current workforce, have any credentialing to be able to get a job that pays more than $10 an hour?
To work a phone or a computer to put an application in. I do a computer 101, and when I was over at Dearson Charities doing my classes, I showed them how to use their phone. Your family buying you iPhones. You can barely work you can't work a phone, period. So they're getting frustrated when they're trying to put applications in. No one is taking out the time to show them how to work a phone, how to set up an email. That's something you need on the front end. So when you come home, you can take off running and you're not stagnant trying to figure out all this. I've seen them get so frustrated. Don't worry about it. I ain't gonna worry about a job. They ain't got no paper apps. No paper apps. Everything is done electronically. You need to keep an eye on your email for the confirmation that they received your application. So all that's new to them. It's very frustrating.
I can't, that's the other thing that pisses me off too. It's like you expect them not to have anger, but you're setting them up to fail. And then you get mad at them when they do. Like it doesn't make sense. And so like that's, I think you're 100% right. Like one of the first things that should happen is there should be a decline when you are re-entering. Like you should start off at, okay, like what are the things I know I need? An ID would be great, a birth certificate, a social security card, because you have to have those to, I don't know, exist. And then after that, great, what are the current skills I had prior to entering into incarceration? What am I interested in doing? What are the qualifications I need to start obtaining for that? And then I also think there's a certain level of like what you said, which is an introduction to the new world. Because while I was in here, everything else kept moving.
Still moving.
Like no one stopped and like it wasn't like Apple was like, all right, everyone hold up, like we got to wait another decade. Like no, everyone kept moving, things kept growing, and everything changed. Like even in the past 3 years, post-COVID, pre and post-COVID, it's like two separate worlds. And people don't have that. You don't know that innately because you aren't interacting with anything other than like your immediate environments. And that's the other thing that's really freaking annoying that people don't get about this population, which is like you're exiting a environment that you had to be a specific way, not only to survive, but also to, like you said, like keep sane. Like it could break people just being in there. And so to have gone through that, there is a certain level of like, there's 100% level of trauma, but there's also a certain level of like your interpersonal skills and your understanding of like how to even have a relationship have kind of gone away because the relationships are no longer off of mutual agreement to like be included. Now it's off of like safety and protective factors. And so all of that gets wiped.
Yeah, another thing is like, so you have that going on, and then, you know, people who haven't even committed a crime, and then they have a hard time. You need to go to college, you gotta get a master's degree, you gotta do this, you gotta go on the job, you gotta submit your resumes, you gotta do all this stuff. You don't get callbacks, you get frustrated. What can I do, you know, that whole pressure stigma on that, as far as getting a great job over mobility and all of that stuff. I'm coming out of jail, I got that other cloud layer above this.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to do just to get to the start. It's like, what are my opportunities? Can I come out making 50 grand, like I said, based on 50 grand a year? Is that even possible? Unless I become an entrepreneur or 2-3 jobs. Where can I go? Coming out as far as like income, earning expectation across the age group, you know, from 25, 40, whatever. What can I hope to look forward to?
I tell my people, look forward to everything. However much energy you put into this, you can make out of it.
I love that.
Your work ethic is going to show a lot. You know, I had a guy that came out of the BOP Board of Prisons. I think Mr. Antonio had did maybe 10, 12 years. Got out. I got him hired at Milwaukee Tool through a temp service. He was converted over to a permanent employee. A couple of months after that, he was offered a trainer position because of his previous knowledge before he was incarcerated. He made $80,000 a year. I said, you done flew past me? You know, so it's like, it's all based on what you already have in you and what you're willing to groom yourself into for the opportunities. But my goal is I try to identify employment where they're getting 401 benefits, health care, things like that. Not all of my employer partners offer that, but there are a lot of them that do. And the ones that qualify, I tell them, this is where you need to be. And, you know, down the line, Miss Portia, look at my house I got built from the ground. Built from the ground. So it's like, and when they call me and they're letting me know, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm doing, thank you. That's all I get, thank you. Demetrius, he's been out 18 months. I helped him get his CDLs. House built from the ground. Hellcat Durango, motorcycle, vacations with his family, but that's what they want. And it's like, you can get what the entertainers are getting by going to work 9 to 5. So, you know, he thanks me a lot with just constantly pushing him and letting him know what you are capable to do. And you living the life.
Yeah, and I think too, like the first part of what you were saying with the whole, like the people that are so disconnected from that environment, like reality, like, you know, people who are like, think about a master's, and like, I think as a whole, there just needs to be an education on like humanity in the incarcerated population, because so often what people think is like, oh, you were incarcerated, like there's a list of like 20 things that I automatically assume about you, and you don't even know the person's name, but you do know that they have a record because it popped up on a background check, and people are so quick to toss it out of the way. And
it's funny because like any one of us can become homeless.
Anyone can get incarcerated.
Incarcerated.
Yeah,
and
it's
have that over us, and we won't know what to do when we like.
what we were talking about, which was like the difference between you and someone who has a background is like they were caught, you weren't. And there's also a real sense of like understanding that like people like to distance themselves from those types of things like they do with people that are experiencing homelessness. Like not that I don't want to be associated, but like it's not something I have to worry about. It's like, okay, well, keep saying that if your company goes under, or if whatever source of revenue, like, not that anyone wishes that would happen, but there's also like, you are putting yourself on a pedestal just off of basic understanding of what the person is, but you have no idea what led them down that path. Like I've gotten in arguments with people, we look into criminology. It's the broken windows theory, which is like essentially in different subset populations that have a higher incarceration rate. If you look at the funding that's poured towards the things like the school system and all, if you go into a building where you have broken windows and you have water leaking out and you have no environment that's like beautiful, like how the different places that have come out through the hub are, like if you're surrounded by those things, then there's a certain notion of like, this doesn't matter because it's being shown to me that it doesn't matter. And then you populate that with people not understanding. I had a kid that I went to college with that we got to do a giant argument about. He couldn't understand that like things people that had to like hustle for money, like if you're having to sell to get money to pay rent, to someone that's never been in an environment like that, like that's shocking. Like why would you? That's breaking the law. But for other people, you grow up around people that are doing that, and it's normalized. It's like you don't look at it from a good or bad standpoint. You look at it from the standpoint of like he has to feed his family, and so the people are so quick to take themselves out of that because they never had to experience it. But it just takes educating yourself, and it also just takes going to talk. Like it's not that difficult to talk to people and like to learn more about them and to build an actual community, because at the end of the day, no one's better than anyone based off a record, and these could be swapped at any point in time based off any decision you make. You decide to go have a few too many beers at a college game, and then you hop in your car and you start driving, and you wreck and kill 2 people.
Yeah.
Great, now you're in a situation where you're like, you have 25 years to 50, and now all of a sudden you realize, oh shit, this really can't happen to anyone. But again, it's that sobering moment that we talked about. It happens to everyone. And it's just like if people cared enough to just educate themselves and realize like these things are so much more interconnected than we like to think. But in reality, it's true. And it's just, so I think that there's a lot that communities as a whole could be doing better, but I also think there's a lot that like person to person, just like a general, like you talked about the Bible, like who did Jesus come help whenever he came? Like he washed the feet of someone who was a prostitute. Like he helped a taxpayer up in the tree. Like if people are basing off these different things, like understand what that looks like pragmatically with your living out in your life. And so that's.
And if they take out the time to really look at it, like God used the have-nots in the Bible, you know what I'm saying? So they have to realize that that's why it's very important to me to provide that visual.
Yes.
I tell my story, I use my story as a testimony. I can do it, you can do it. You know, and that's why I felt it was very, very touching on 901 Day to see 10,000 plus people on Beale Street, no issues. I don't care what happened that night. That was the night when it was over, when the metal detectors were removed and things like that. I was there. But to see Memphis come together a full weekend, and for Project Pat to do a repentance prayer over that many people, like that was very, very touching. And people can look at him, and if you know him, you know him. So if God can touch him and change him, he can change anybody. We just have to show the desire for change.
And the willingness.
And the willingness. And like, that's why I keep saying, putting that visual in front of them. It's possible. Like you just said, if you're in a building with broken windows and, you know, it's trashy, you're going to kind of feel like that. But when you put them in a better space and place and allow them to visualize and see what's ahead of them, we'll have a better turnout. Like right now, I'm trying to get some donors to donate. I want to do a reentry retreat.
Oh, yeah.
I want to take about 10 or 12 of my individuals to Gatlinburg, to the cabins, just to let them see how to live life and not survive. A lot of my individuals have not been out of their communities, haven't been out of Memphis. Yep. So that's something that I'm really trying to pull together to make happen. And, you know, just us coming together as a family. We're going to do a vision board party, maybe do a little yoga, have some little mentoring, just a lot of little things are going to get implemented in it, but I want them to just see like, it's another world out here, y'all.
Whole nother world.
Whole nother world. And I think that would be a very good look. And I've identified the people that have completed the program. That's who I'll be selecting from. So it won't be anybody random off the street that, you know, hadn't poured into themselves. This is going to be people that I feel deserve it. They're showing the initiative, and I want them to know I see it, I acknowledge it, and others acknowledge it. So let's do this, and I want y'all to continue moving forward. But from that cohort that I did for the Safer Community Grant with Paul Young, I had 17 people enroll and 14 to complete.
That's
everybody
wow.
Working, everybody got insurance, everybody got housing. I had 7 people to go enroll in school. Like, I had a very good turnout. So that's why I'm trying to tell the people of the city, if I can get some funding and get some assistance, I can help way more than 14 people. But I'm just a strong believer of working with what I have and what's in front of me. And if I got to do it a little at a time, I'm going to do it a little at a time, because those 14 individuals that graduated, they've told at least 2 or 3 of their friends that have wanted to sign up for T.R.A.P and say, oh, shoot, if she can do it, I can do it. And that's what it's going to take. It's a domino effect. So let's put them in front of their peers and let them see. Okay, she was on what you was on. She was doing all that. He was doing all that. But when they took out the time to invest in themselves, look what came out of it.
And I'm sure you do know this, but if not, I also would love to point out, like, you're also changing generations of people, because not only are you helping the individual in front of your face, but now that person has people to look up to them that can now see, oh, wait, look at what he's doing. They're going to make different decisions. And like, that's another beautiful piece of the work that you do, is like, it gives a lot of people, the next generation coming up, like, oh.
I had a guy's uncle, great uncle. He came in at the end of the cohort, maybe like the 5th week. I see something different about him. And he speaks so highly about you in this program. I just want to come in. And I let him join us. This man was 63 years old. But him seeing his 23-year-old nephew coming in, being committed, and seeing his growth, seeing how things are changing, he wanted to come, and that's what it takes.
Beautiful.
That's what my whole goal is for the ones who are doing right. Let your peers see it. Take it back to the community. Let them know. Get off that block. It's stuff we can do, and I'll pull up on the block. I don't care what they doing, smoking, selling, whatever. Here go my car, y'all. Y'all tired of this life? Let me help you to do something better. We cannot be afraid. My mom tells me, you don't know nothing about that neighbor. Ain't nobody gonna touch me. I'm trying to be a blessing to people. Ain't nobody gonna bother me. They can either say they want the information I'm giving, or they can turn around and keep walking. But I've had people to where I've walked up on crowds, and a young lady that's prostituting saying, I'm tired of this life. Well, where can you direct me? So we have to put ourselves in the place of where it's needed. They not gonna come to us all the time. You gotta go to them.
Majority of the time, they're not.
Majority of the time. And once they see you're consistent, like, oh, okay, Miss Portia really cared. This is her second time pulling up out here. And, things like that. So we have to be meaningful and intentional about what we're doing to get the successful outcome that we want.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, what else it does too is, sometimes people fall into that consistent cycle of like, it's the environment I'm in, which is like allowing me some sort of excuse to do the behavior I'm doing. But then they see someone come into that environment and be like, no, it's not, because I'm here right now. I'm here with you, and I'm giving you another option. And I think it's like with outreach on us. Like, I've been outreach, and I'm showing up 7 times before someone's even given me their name. And it was always funny to me too. Like, it would shock people, because sometimes you walk up on someone and you also have to give them the grace to be having a bad day.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm I look like I'm like, I got a big old red beard. Like, I'm walking up like, hey, how's it going? Like, I'm sure people are like, dude, leave me the hell alone.
Yeah.
Which happens so often. But then I show up that 3rd time, that 4th time, and I show you, A, your words aren't going to discourage me, because I understand that if I were in your situation, I'd be pretty pissed off too. But also, B, I look at you more than just face value of whatever you're giving off, because I know that you have a protective instinct to understand that the majority of people coming your way right now are there to hurt you. But I'm just Aesop's fable, make a man feel so warm he takes his coat off.
Yeah.
Like, that's the goal of all those interactions, and it's the exact same thing that you're doing, which is, I'm here to show you that I care. Everything else is subsequent to the fact that we start off with the initial understanding that I care about you as a person, as a human, as a husband, as a father, as a daughter, as a son. That's what I care about. Yes. All this other stuff will happen, but it has to start with that trust and that faith. And so I think I love the work you do. I mean, we've talked before and during about just the model you have is awesome, and the success you see. And like 14 of 17 is insane. Yeah. I don't know if people know that, like, that are watching. Like, that is such a high rate of success, especially with all of the things that you got them. Like that, I mean, congratulations. That is really beautiful.
Thank you. And also, all 14 were able to open a bank account. So I was partnered with Truist Bank. They actually came in. The vice president, Ms. Cheryl Gray, came in. Conducted the financial literacy portion over the whole 8 weeks for me. And even if they had a rocky background with banks and banking, they had some kind of secondary accounts that they were able to get them, and all of them were able to get them. And what's so crazy, Matt, is I'm getting all these text messages with the little receipt. Miss Portia, open my bank. So that's a plus, because some of them didn't think that they could get a bank account, and then just for somebody to take the initiative to say, okay, I'm gonna pay for you to open an account. Go open your account. I didn't have anybody that spent the money elsewhere. You know, they did what they were supposed to do. And a lot of things that I do, people tell me, Portia, you doing too much. They gonna do this. When they got iPads for the cohort.
Mm-hmm.
Why you spend that much money on iPads? I was like, that's what it's for. They need to be able to apply to jobs.
Yeah.
They gonna pawn them. They gonna sell them. I bet you every time I see those 14 people, they got it.
They got the iPad.
They got it. When they come to a different class, they got their iPad. So we can't always just look at them and think the worst. I know that they took out the time to groom themselves, to follow through with this programming. They give me the utmost respect. No one disrespect me. It's Miss Portia, everything. I wasn't worried about that with them. No. And they're showing me that I need this. I'm applying for jobs. One young lady told me she started online school. I said, you just need a keyboard for it.
Mm-hmm.
So things like that, you know, I'm just intentional about what I do. I treat my participants as I would want someone to treat me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not shortchanging them. I'm not cutting any corners. Like when we get this cabin, I'm claiming that we're going on this retreat. We're going to have a nice cabin. I'm not just getting anything to, you know, throw together to take them. They're going to gain an experience. And I just want them to live life and see, like, it's possible. Do the right things, and you're going to get what you need.
Yeah, and I think another thing I tell people, too, that because you hear that a lot, which is like why are you doing so much? Or like, how can you trust them? It's like, if not me, then who else?
Mm-hmm. And then that comes with building a relationship with them. Yeah. They're not just coming in my office signing up saying, I'm here for the reentry program, and then they leave. No, I take out the time to get to know them, what they need, and, you know, what they're dealing with. Like, when you take out time to show them that you care, you're gaining a friend, you're gaining a client, you're gaining a whatever. I don't call them felons. You hear me keep saying participants. Mm-hmm. You'll hear me saying friend a lot. I don't believe in identifying with those different titles. No. Ex-offender. Don't nobody want to hear that. They've heard that for quite some time, so I want them to be comfortable. Yeah. You know, you are a participant. How you doing, friend? You don't know how that make them feel.
Yeah, and also just like, when you're talking about handing them out, it's not like they're coming through the door and you're like, all right, participant 13, here's your iPad. It's like, no, hey, Joe, how's it going? Here's your iPad. Like, you know them. Like, they're a person.
Committed.
Yeah.
When I tell you my attendance, I think my attendance was like at a 78 or 80%. They weren't missing class. They needed it. They enjoyed it. Like, I was filling their cup up for the week, you know? Yeah. And if they got into a bad timing or, you know, was feeling down, they knew how to call me, and I'll pick them right back up. I'll see you in class on Friday. Don't worry about any of that. Just come in, you know. So they just need that encouragement.
And people have to understand that you don't have to come to me as a perfect human. You have to come to me as a real person. Yeah. Because you run that into a lot with people who are like, I didn't want to tell you this because I thought it would mess this up. It's like, no, if you have those relationships that you're talking about building, then they'll come to you in their worst moments and their best moments and everything in between. But there just has to be the understanding of, like, you're coming to me, I'm going to help you find a solution, but I need you to be honest. Yep. And that honesty, like, you're not going to, I tell people all the time, you're not going to shock me. I've heard a lot. And if you do shock me, you're not going to know that you shocked me because I've worked with people this whole time, and I understand that everything you're doing from this point forward needs to be on the understanding of you're being honest with me so I can honestly help you.
Because I can't help you if you're lying to me.
No. And it always comes out.
Always.
It's not. Am I going to find out that you're lying? It's just at what point in time is it going to come out that you told a lie? Mm-hmm. And so it's just might as well just tell me the truth. And the mutual individual we worked with, Greg, he had one of those mornings that, like, I came in early because he texted me and it was like 5:30 in the morning. He's like, I've been lying to you about this thing. So he told me the stuff that was happening, and I just told him, I was like, the man I'm talking to now, I'm defining by your ability to have told me what you just did, not by what you did. Mm-hmm. So I was like, everything you just told me, we're good. I appreciate you letting me know.
Because you didn't have to come on out and tell me.
No, he was so. You just know when people are. You just know that he was, like, speaking from his soul. Mm-hmm. Like, he was like, I can't keep doing this to someone that, like, I care so much about that's helping me. And again, that's where that relationship comes from, because it's like they don't look at me like, oh, you're the case manager, the manager of this, like, transitional house. They look
like a friend. It's somebody that they can confide in.
Yeah. So I could go on for 17 hours because I love the work that you do, and really, like, it's just, I think the model you have will be across the nation, because it's proven to be effective, and it's proven that there's such a high level of need. And my hope is, like, somewhere down the line we could obviously connect and do something, and I think we should look into the kiosk things that we were talking
Most
about. So
definitely.
might have to bug some people. But I'll go into these are the fun questions
Okay,
we tell
let's go.
people, so we could get to know more about you. I haven't done this one in a bit, but if you could be an expert at anything in the entire world instantly at the snap of a finger, what would you become an expert in?
Psychology.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I like that one.
Psychology. I want to be able to understand everything that someone tells me that they're going through, and be able to, help them direct those thoughts and how to just kind of come out of this stagnant era that they're in. How to let them just release anything of the past that is holding them, because a lot of people are dealing with battles from childhood and years before that we're still holding a hold of as an adult, and it's keeping us from being where we need to be. So I say psychology.
I got some books for you.
Okay.
I got some books. So this is the classic. You're in an island. You were on a cruise and it went down. You floated to an island, but for some reason you were able to save 3 DVDs. What movies are you watching for the remainder of your life on a desert island?
Oh, that's a good. Let me see. Gotta have a little comedy.
Mm-hmm.
I love Death at a Funeral with Chris Rock.
Really?
It is hilarious. I love that.
I know that one.
Give me a little bit of the Noah's Ark or Ten Commandment DVD. I gotta keep that fresh.
Okay. I like that.
And outside of that, I would say another good DVD. I don't know about a third one.
You could throw in a TV show if you need to.
TV show. What's something I like to watch? I don't even watch TV that much now. I be so busy. But let me see. I don't know. I'm trying to think one of these reality shows or something I watch.
I have another category, but I'm almost positive I know your answer to it, but I'll throw it in there. You could bring a book too. What book would you bring?
Okay. If I could bring a book, I would take T.D. Jakes' daughter, Sarah Jakes Roberts. What's the name of that book? Something Power. She has a book that's very good, and it touches on a lot of real life things. I think it's the movement of power. It's Something Power.
Okay.
Yep, as far as the book taking.
Okay. And then the final one, if you had to release your autobiography tomorrow, what would the title be?
Out the Mud and On a Mission.
There we go. I like that a
Out
lot.
the Mud and On a Mission. And the reason I would say that is just so people can identify that we all have struggles where we feel like we're getting it out the mud, but it's still a mission and a purpose at the end, and you got to push through.
Absolutely.
You got to push through. Trouble don't last always.
I love that. That's a top 2 or 3 for me. That was a good one. I like that. Okay.
And it's Power Moves.
Power Moves.
That's the
Okay.
name of
Power
it.
Moves. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for
I'm sure you'll be
inviting me.
back on at some point whenever you do an
Yeah.
expansion or new programming. But just thank you for the work. Really, it's really inspiring to see, and just the results you get and the people's lives that you've changed. It's tremendous. So could you tell the people where they could go if they're interested in working with you, donating, or just getting in touch, and then anything else that you wanted to plug?
Okay. For anyone interested in enrolling or want to just kind of read up on our programming, you can go to www.trapevolution.com. And we also have a podcast on YouTube, which is called T.R.A.P. Evolution, T.R.A.P. Esteem. I think we're maybe 3 episodes in now, but it's good stuff. Basically allowing different participants to tell their truth of their life, how they came up, how they ended up in the streets, and how they were able to overcome. I'm just a strong believer that people need to see change to change. So I try to send that out to anyone that, is a person of reentry that needs a little push, or to just see that it is possible. And as far as for any donations or anything, there is a site on the website, a page on the website, or you guys can email me at portiamoore@trapevolution.com. Enjoyed the opportunity for the podcast and hope to see some of you guys soon enrolling.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yes.